Alright folks, today we're going to be diagnosing this start but won't stay running on this weed eater. So this weed eater here is a Homelite brand, and it is starting up but won't stay running. It dies rather quickly. So let's start her up and see what goes down. Alright, we're gonna set the choke to full choke. I'm gonna come back here and prime it up. Seven times. We can see fuel coming up the line. This one has an auto start stop, so it automatically goes back to the start position, so that's good. We don't have to worry about that. We'll pull this here trigger, give her a couple pulls, see what happens. Okay, we're gonna move it to half choke, see what happens. And then it dies. So that's what the complaint is on this thing. It starts up and then it dies. So let's give it some more fuel. We are going to prime it up couple more times, and then we'll start it up again, see what happens. Half choke, full choke, half choke, Alright, so it seems like to me that we are losing fuel in this thing. As I prime the bulb and get fuel to it, it's starting right up, but there's no fuel getting sucked up to it. So either A, it could be a carburetor problem, or B, it could be a fuel tank. So let's open her up, see what happens. Alright, my suspicions are these fuel tank fuel lines. These lines are corroded, they're cracking on the outside, got gas leaking through them, and I don't think they're getting enough suction and air. It's leaking by, so that is my suspicion. So let's break it down. Let's swap out this gas tank with new gas tank, new hoses, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we have a T25 star screw here, there's one here, and then there's one in the center of the gas tank, and that looks like that's it. So if we take these three off, we should be able to pull this gas tank right out. So I'm gonna loosen this first one, and again, it is a T25. Loosen that one and loosen that one. So I just wanted to loosen them all first, make sure I wasn't going to run into no issues with one being stuck, tight, or stubborn. So now that they're all broke loose pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and swing around to this side. And you want to separate these fuel lines. So I've got just a little flathead screwdriver You want to pry down in here. Now this one don't matter a whole lot because I got a whole new system, so I'm not worried about damaging them. But if you're going to be replacing the old hoses, if you're going to be putting them back in service, be real gentle and just kind of pry on the edge of the hoses until they come off. You've got that one and you've got this one. Once you get those off, we can swing back around and continue with the removal of the gas tank. Alright, now that those are off, it should slide right off, and we'll strap on the new one. Okay, one other thing that was suspect on this fuel tank was the gas cap. So I don't know if y'all know this, or if you've ever paid attention, but it actually has a breather here in the gas cap, and it's just a little stone like material that allows air to get sucked into the gas tank as it's working, right, so you don't collapse it drawing fuel from it. But this one I actually cleaned up and cut off the very tip of it because it was just packed with muck, and I didn't feel comfortable reusing it, so I bought the gas tank with the new gas cap. So if you're having trouble with your weed eater staying running, you know, check that. You can run a small screwdriver through this opening and push it out. This will come out and you can clean it up and make sure it's, you know, free of debris right here where you got adequate airflow. So that's just another little side note to check. Okay, so we've got the new fuel system here. It's the new gas tank. It's got a brand new gas cap on it with a good breather. It's got the hoses already coming out of the gas tank, and they're ready to go. It's got a little stone down there in the bottom. That's where your filter, right, that sucks up the gas to keep any big trash from getting sucked up into your carburetor. So that stone is on there and it's good to go. And now all we got to do is install it. So you'll just go in reverse, put a couple of your T25 screws back in, get them started. Now you always want to just get them all started and make sure they're all going to go in and be good, and your tank will pretty much position itself. Then you can come back and tighten them all down. You don't ever want to just go to town and tighten one screw, because then you may have a hard time getting the other ones in if something is not aligned properly. Alright, yep. Keep it going. Go ahead and get them all snug. And again, this is plastic, so you don't want to over tighten things and risk crushing it. I would just get them to where they're tight, and then a quarter turn to lock them in place. And as you run it after a couple times of use, just come back and check those screws and make sure they're not backing out with the vibrations. If they are, just tighten them up a little bit and they'll be good to go. Alright, next we want to get back to the fuel line. So as you can see, they're giving us plenty of fuel lines. They are way too long. So we're going to size these up and get them cut to size. For this application, I'm just going to use my old handy dandy trusty Buck American made pocket knife. Now what you want to do is you take your first hose. This one's got a little bend to it, right? So you just want to kind of guess about where that's going to be at. Mark it with your fingertip, and then take your knife and sever your hose off. Nice and easy. We don't need no trips to the emergency room. Alright, nice and easy. Next one, do the same thing. Kind of line it up in there with where you think it's going to be at. I see it landing right on the 150. I'm going to line up my Buck sharp knife and we're going to slowly serrate it and pop it off. Now we can introduce these hoses to their new home. That one is on. I don't know if you can see that, but I actually have cutting it just a tad bit short, so I may have to worry about that one. Next one finds its forever home, and we are in business, cooking with propane. So let's fill her up with some fuel and see what happens. Alright, because this is a 2-cycle engine and it is actually a 50-to-1 ratio, and you can find that on your cap, gas plus oil. So you don't want to use straight gas in these things, folks. It does take a little oil to keep things lubricated and running properly. If you use straight gas, it will dry it out and things will go kaput really quick. So make sure that you're mixing oil with gas at the ratio it calls for, or you buy some pre-mixed small engine gas already with the ratios of your gas to oil. So this here says it's good for 40-to-1 or 50-to-1. How they figure, I'm not sure, but that's what they say. So this is what we're going to use today. We're going to make sure it's nice and mixed up, and then we're going to fill up our guy here. So let's get it done. Put your gas cap on. Let's go ahead and put our lid back on our fuel. Let's prime it up. Here we go. 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you may have to do a little more with this new application, right? So you want to make sure you get plenty of fuel in these lines, get all the air bubbles out, because there is not fuel constantly in there. You need to pump it a few times to try to get these lines filled up. And there we go. I've gotten all the air bubbles out of this main fuel line. There's a few more coming up, so we'll do that. Our return line has got a few bubbles in it, but that shouldn't be an issue. Let's put this on full choke and give her a ring. Half choke.